great time. We're going to continue a series on the use of ChatGPT, to be precise, for enhancing academic productivity, especially when it comes to writing, publishing, and doing all kind of stuff that relates to research, which are supposed to make you better researchers or scientists, so to say. Today's topic will be focusing on how you should usually structure your papers. By papers, we mean your academic manuscripts, manuscript that you want to submit for publications, reports when it comes to scientific reports, or you doing some kind of report that has to do with some investigation. So by and large, when you think of all these this report, they always come in different structures, and if they are not in that structure, they are always very obvious to pinpoint as being not so good enough, or not something people can really relate with. You want to read something and continue reading it and enjoying reading it, even if it's a very long text, a long manuscript or draft. So today we're going to work on. I'm going to walk you through what you need to do, how you can structure reports, your thesis, such that it will be very academic, professional, and easy to understand and reproduce by other researchers. So once again, the goal is for you to be fast, to be clear, and to be a good academic writer. So this is the goal of the talk for today and this presentation. You probably have heard of something called IMRaD. IMRaD is an acronym for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. It is a technique for that a lot of people use in academic publications or academic writing. You probably have been using it without realizing that you are using IMRaD, because whatever kind of draft that you want to make, you always write introduction, write about the method, the result, discussion, and the conclusion. And of course, if it's an academic paper, it must have a title, it must have an abstract, you must come in with several other condiments like acknowledgement, declaration of conflict of interest, and references. So the IMRAD is just a technique for writing reports, for writing papers, for writing theses. So it's about introduction, method, results, and discussion, and it's shortened for IMRAD. It is widely accepted structure for academic scientific writing. Readers, a lot of it helps readers to follow the logic in whatever you write, and this technique is actually being sought after by a number of top tier journals, Nature Science, a lot of all the Elsevier, Wiley, Lancet journals. And to your left here, you see a diagram which actually shows you the proportionate word count for what every aspect of any paper or any write-up should be, which means your title should be circular in nature, such that it embodies everything written in the paper, and you should use keywords that relate to the actual findings and contributions to knowledge. Your abstract is an overview of the whole paper. It starts from top to bottom and covers everything that is in the paper, from introduction, the study sites, the method, the result, the discussion, conclusions. Of course, some people use references in their abstract. That is not commonplace. A number of journals or a number of writers don't do that. In any case, your abstract must be very succinct. It must be to point and must be elaborate enough for people to understand everything that has been done in the work. And you see that there are some questions being asked here that more or less resonate with what each section of a paper should be. Like a paper, the title of a paper should tell you what it's about. The abstract is what the whole paper is in a nutshell, in summary. The introduction, what did you do, or why did you do it rather, which means the problems that you've solved, the importance of this problem, the knowns and unknowns, and the research questions or hypotheses that have been tested. The study site is where the work has been done, which is more or less called study area by other people. And then the methods, the results, the discussion, and all of those with the different questions to guide you on how to write them. And the IMRaD is very, very important because it gives you clarity when it comes to your writing and make the flow to be logical enough to follow. It also helps during the peer review process. So if you have written a paper that is not well structured, the structure will be obviously lacking, or if being read by a peer reviewer. And this sometimes annoys people and they don't want to go further in reviewing your paper. It also helps the reader to enhance their comprehension, and it is the standard format in most journals, theses, and reports. So that is why you have to adopt it. So, following our normal technique of using steps, we start with the introduction, right? Because I have a different video on abstract entirely, which will follow up. We start with the introduction, and the purpose of the introduction is to set the stage, right? Is to set the stage for the work that you want to present to people by telling them what the problem is or what the problems are. Why do you think those problems are important? Why are they important to people, for people to read? And then you kind of also whet the appetite of your reader by giving them an insight into what has been done and what your research aim or questions are. So you have to keep it very focused, and you cite some literature because you wouldn't be the first person writing on that subject matter, so to say. So by implication, it shows that your introduction should not be usually more than 5 paragraphs. 5 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs, each answering some of the questions that have been listed above. Then you follow with the method, which is showing people how the study was done, the design, the tools, the techniques that have been done, the sampling, the data collection, and the analysis that have been done. And also, you have to do all this to make sure that people can reproduce them. You write it in such a way that anyone can pick them up and reproduce them, right? And then your results should be results, numbers, the figures, the tables, the statistics that you have. You all only have to stick to the facts, no interpretation of that. The moment you have a number and you are telling people the implications of those numbers, then you are doing interpretation. In some journals, it is allowed to have results and interpretation together, but in most journals, most applied science, basic science journals, they want you to separate the result from the interpretation. And then you can also have a lot of subheadings just to make it logical enough to follow, right? And then in the discussion, you can prepare a section where you interpret your data and contextualize your work, what the result that you have, what they mean, and then you can do a comparison, compare with other previous works and why your work is different from theirs. This can be under different subheadings or sections. And then you can write about the implications and limitations of your data and also make recommendations for official work. So you have to find a balance between the strength of your work and the weaknesses of your work, right? So this is what IMRaD is all about. And all these needs, all these important aspects of each of the sections of a paper is what you are going to write into your prompt when you are making a prompt. So now we head to ChatGPT, and we are going to test it using some data. So I have to bring in data that we can use. So the first thing is you must have written the manuscript. So once you write the manuscript, then you have to use, so we have an abstract section which we'll come back to, but we have an introduction section here, right, with references and all of them. And if you look at all this, it's you see that there's some kind of logic in what has been written and a lot of mistakes for sure, right? So 4 paragraphs, like I said, and then we are going to use this create a prompt that will restructure these and make it more readable. So if we head to ChatGPT, we are going to say refine. You can use refine as a word. These are the words that you can use. You can use refine, you can use rephrase, you can use rewrite, you can use edit. Any of these keywords should work for 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 refining a draft that you have that you want to adjust to the IMRaD style, right? So how would you say refine? Refine the following text, following into 4 main paragraphs as an introduction to a manuscript. So you can be very precise by saying you want to submit it to a particular journal, saying submitted to Nature Geoscience, for example. And then you had the tone, you had the flavors. High impact, professional, academic, and then easy to understand, right? I usually want you to adopt that, easy to understand. And then you can go further and say the first paragraph should focus on. So if we go back to our PowerPoint and see what the first paragraph should focus on, the first paragraph should focus on the problem statement, I'll say from known to unknown, for example. Second paragraph, aims of the study and why the study is important. Paragraph 3, what the new paper is all about. 3 paragraphs. Then we can say and wider implications, right? Wider implications. So if we paste that text, so let's copy the text and we'll paste it. You see that this is not structured, obviously, and I deliberately chose one that is not structured. And then we put it here, say paste, and then we make it the prompt to run. So here is a refined high impact introduction organized into 4 professional and accessible paragraphs for submission to Nature Geoscience. From unknown, the problem statement, aims. So the mapping and analysis of linear such as foil and so on and so forth, etc. to right. Okay, so what it has done now is that it has placed them following that paragraph. Okay, you can update it with the previously cited references. So because it has removed the references, that is normal. And then it will rewrite it and then include all the previously used references, right? And then this makes sense because this has focused on larger problems, which is what an introduction should look like. It's an inverted pyramid where you start from very big problem and you focus on smaller ones. The aims of the studies and what these studies does. Okay, and then it has wider implications and contributions of these studies. Okay, now maybe this is too lengthy. What you can now do is that you can say remove the subheadings, and then word count should be 1,200 words, and then it will do that and refine it to something more reasonable. And then when you see these long iPhones, there are giveaways that usually tell people that these have been written by ChatGPT or an AI tool, and usually should be a comma or something in the bracket. So you can replace that. So you can copy this in advance and say replace all these with commas, because it has done that, so you have to wait for it to finish. You need to understand why I've spent quite a bit of time explaining this IMRaD method, because this is what is really lacking from high impact papers and the so-called predatory papers, or papers published in predatory journals. And I'll do this again. And now the word limit is 1260 words, which is very fine. And it has also taken out all the long iPhones that you have inside, and also added all the references, right? So if you are going to use a referencing manager like EndNote or Zotero, then you can play around with the referencing style, which we are going to come to in the class on Zotero. Okay, and then the same way you've done this, you can do the same for your methods. You can do the same for the results section. You can do the same for the discussion section. Your ChatGPT or AI tool, they are co-pilots, they are research assistant. They are not supposed to replace the human intervention or make you lazy. They are not autopilots. You should always remember this. They are supposed to enhance and make your work better. And in this way, we have written a very good introduction that can go to any journal, that can fit to any journal, because it is from top to bottom, inverted pyramid, stating the larger problems with the right references, talking about some of the emerging fields, and also highlighting the aims of these studies, and then telling about the wider implications of the study. And this is your responsibility to read these again, to check for the AI semantics and remove them and make them human friendly. In summary, to end this video, the IMRaD is a technique for structured writing, scientific writing, and which shows you what each paper, report, or draft should contain. It promotes clarity and gives logic to the flow of your paper, and also help during peer review process. When peer reviewers see your work and they are well structured, they are well written, they are happy to review and give you good feedback about your work. And this will simplify the publication process for you. It also helps with comprehension. Readers will relate with your work and understand your academic writing styles. And then the format is always encouraged by all journals, or most journals globally. Every part of the report answers a question, and they contain different structures. And these structures are done in such a way that they enhance the flow of the paper or any report that you're writing. Get yourself accustomed to what each method section answers, and use this list of needs or division of each of the sections to prompt your ChatGPT to give you a good result. In the next video, we're going to talk about how you can use these techniques to write very good abstract for your work. The IMRaD is your blueprint for clarity and credibility. You need to have a structure and be very flexible, but tools like ChatGPT can accelerate your writing, can help you. They can also help you revise them. You can get some feedback and edit your work from time to time using word counts, using different keywords. Thank you once again. Subscribe to the channel, make sure you comment, and even suggest areas that you want me to focus on and areas you want me to improve on. See you soon.